No, 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 no.
Hi, Doug.
Hi, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I was just opening up my phone and there it was.
Oh, goodness.
How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you
Good.
doing?
All right. I'm supposed to be, actually, I'm supposed to be on a Zoom call with the Historic Commission any moment, but yeah.
Get on your Zoom call. I'm here.
You know?
This is me taking a break.
Good.
I just pushed the laptop away.
Okay. All righty. Well, we'll talk to you in the morning or sometime tomorrow. Yeah. All righty. Bye now.
All right. Later. Bye.
So funny. Oh.
Hey, Doug.
Hey, Vin, how are you?
Doing okay, thanks. How about yourself? Good.
Hanging in. Everything okay with the snow and all that?
Yeah, I'm hoping this week with the warmer weather will get rid of most of it. I'm a little tired of it at this point. I think I've pretty worn out my tractor from plowing our drive and walks and stuff.
Yeah.
So it gets old after a while.
It does.
But I'm thankful I have a tractor and a snow blower, so
exactly
makes it a lot easier for me. Yeah, Laura's. I think Laura is not. She's got class, so she won't.
Right. Yep, I'm all set to take notes.
Okay. Good.
And I'll do my best to not be so
right. I know you
submitting them.
Sure, I know you will. Let's see if I can get. Okay, now I got the two of us on here.
Yep. We can just make all the decisions and tell everyone, never mind.
It'll be quick.
Yeah.
We'll get through it. I'm not sure. I know Laura can't make it. Ken is riding in the snow up in upper New York State, snowmobiling with his family.
Oh, good for him.
Talked to him today, so yeah, he was having some fun.
He's
and
still
Bill,
a young buck.
Yeah, sounds like a lot. I guess the trails they have up there just go everywhere.
Yeah,
and they're keeping in good shape. And Bill is, I think he's on assignment down in San Antonio with the COVID. So I don't think it's going to be on. But
okay, I wasn't sure when that started, but I knew it was coming up.
Yeah, and that leaves us with 5 if the other folks show up.
Okay. Now, is Missy a full member yet, or is she still in waiting?
A full member. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, yeah. Good.
It's great. I've got a copy of her the letter they sent to her.
Yeah.
In January. So she's on board, and I'm very happy. Okay. Yeah, I think
fantastic.
We're pleased with that.
Yep. Righty. I've owed you a call for about a week, and I'll talk to you as soon as I can separately.
Okay,
Let's see, what else is going on?
hey,
Well, we'll talk about it, but the, you saw the sketches from Lance?
the sketches for what?
From Lance for the signs?
Oh, yes, we're gonna talk about that.
Good, good, good. I like
Yeah.
all of them.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about that. Alan. Good evening, Alan.
Hi, Ben.
There he is. Hey, Alan.
Hey.
I think I need to set myself to gallery here.
Nice to have you here, Alan, but you don't count as a member of the commission, so I'm hoping we get at least 2 more people who are regular commissioners so we can hold a meeting.
There we go. Hey, Bill.
Hey, everybody.
How you
How are
doing?
you? Good. Just resting on the couch for the last few weeks.
See the cast.
You want to see the cast?
Yeah.
Easier said than done. Let's see what I can do.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. Don't
really a
hurt
cast.
yourself doing it.
Yeah, I can-
What have
Oh,
you done to
my.
yourself?
Oh,
Wow.
boy. That doesn't look good.
Nope, it wasn't.
Good grief. How did that happen? I missed it.
I was coming back from a hunting trip on January 18th, and I got my foot. I slipped and jammed my foot between 2 logs, and my forward momentum carried me over sideways
Ooh,
and broke my ankle.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I'm full of hardware.
Yikes.
I bet.
Are you progressing okay on schedule?
Yeah, yeah.
Good,
It's
good.
remarkably, I had very little pain, considering,
Hmm.
even when it happened. And now it's just couch potato hell. Because
Mm.
I'm pretty much totally immobile. I can't put any weight on it for another 3 weeks.
Mm.
Oh boy.
Oh, my goodness.
Wow.
Yeah.
How long do they estimate it'll take to heal up?
Total 9 to 12 weeks,
Mm.
It's a lot.
and then I assume there's PT after that. So that's just to get walking.
All of you kids, you have to listen to me.
I- that Rebecca?
No, it sounds like it's
I know
gone
she,
to
I
bro.
think she said she was going to listen into the meeting, so.
Hmm.
We had,
hello-
it's under
uh,
for
hel- Okay, this is Jay Peeler. I just phoned in. Can anybody hear me?
I can
Yes.
hear you.
Yes, we can hear you, Jay.
Yep.
Good to hear
Good.
your voice.
Yeah, I just wish I could get my tablet to work. Unfortunately, I'm such a klutz with computers.
Hmm.
Well, as long as we've got voice, you're
Yeah.
here.
Yep.
So
Okay.
we need at least one more
Hmm.
to have a meeting.
Yep.
Are you on gallery view, Vin?
Yes.
Okay, we've had Lance and Missy join us.
Yeah, can you see me? And hear me?
Can't see him. Lance is on.
Here, yeah.
Okay, and Missy.
Yep, I'm
And I see Missy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific. that's a full complement for tonight because, as I mentioned earlier, Ken is up in upstate New York, and
Mhm.
Laura's got class, and Bill is on assignment in San Diego helping get the virus shots in people's arms for the Marines. So he'll be there for 90 days, I think, which is, you know, now that the Marines are helping out, the virus hasn't got a chance.
That's right.
Okay, well, I'll call the meeting to order. In attendance, that myself, Doug, Missy, Jay, and Lance. All you folks are here?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And we've got Bill Soms, our liaison with the council, is joined us also, which is nice to see you, Bill. Been a little while, but you've had some problems,
Yeah.
obviously.
Nice to be back.
Okay. I don't know if all of you know, but Missy is now a full member of the commission.
Great.
I want to congratulate her and
Yep.
welcome her on board. Of course, most of you know she's been doing the work of the commission now for quite a long time, but now she's got the title. So welcome aboard, Missy.
Thank you.
All right. Appointment of alternates. Lance and Missy will both be voting members for this meeting. And that gives us 5 members, which is good.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay.
you with us, Doug?
I am.
Okay.
I'm with.
All right. First item is the approval of the minutes for the last meeting. Does anyone have any comments or corrections, changes to those minutes? Hearing none, I look for a motion from someone to approve the minutes as distributed.
Jay Peeler making a motion to approve the minutes.
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Second it? Okay.
Lance, okay.
This is always true. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, they're approved unanimously. All right, fiscal report. For the Lester House, we currently have about $1,500 left in the budget, which is about 16% of what our budget was at the start of the year. For the sawmill, that's about the same, about 15, almost 16. And that represents about 35% of the original budget for the sawmill. So there's also $700 in, it's under miscellaneous, but we've been using it for improvements to the schoolhouse in the past. And I think Ken mentioned there might be something that he might be interested in having done that would fit within that. And it also is there for any efforts in preservation or research. So that's it. Does anyone have any questions? I think the details were included in the package that everyone was sent. Okay. Don't have any correspondence. committee reports. Alan is offered to give the report for the Sawmill. So Alan, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, so I'm filling in for Bill's well-polished marine boots tonight, I guess. So there, very little activity at the mill, of course, during the cold weather, but there's been a few things going on that are worth mentioning. One is that we had a video conference a couple weeks ago with a mill and building restoration company called Husk Preservation, Inc. They're actually working with millwright Jim Cricker, who we hired as a consultant and visited the Ledyard Mill last summer. So Jim was also in on the phone call, and we talked to them about the possibility and their interest in installing a period appropriate wooden tank water system in the lower level of the mill to replace the current steel tank and tube, which has been in there about 20 years. That steel tube is leaking. It's probably not an imminent danger of failure, but it's going to need to be replaced soon. And as part of the replacement, VIII has had a couple companies come in to give us an idea of some modern material replacements using plastic or an epoxy spray or steel. But we talked to Husk Preservation about their interest in putting in a wood system. And so they're going to put together kind of an overall plan of how a wood tank would be installed and a ballpark estimate for cost. It won't be a bid type estimate, but it'll be a ballpark estimate and something that'll be very useful. And as part of that, VIII has contacted Preservation Connecticut, which is the organization that administers the state grants for historic properties. And there's been a little activity on that. And actually, Vin, I'll let you speak to where things are regarding thinking about a grant for work at the Sawmill.
Oh, okay. I contacted circuit rider Mike Godino, who came down and visited the mill last year. We had a good meeting with him, so he was familiar with it and some of the issues that we have. And he also at the time offered that if we were going to submit a grant, that he would help us with the grant, which was very good to hear, generous. So I called him to tell him, over the phone briefly about this project. And he thought that it might be a candidate for a grant. And he suggested that I send him a brief write-up of what we're looking to do and why we want to do it and some other, some background information and photos. So Alan put together a very nice packet, which I emailed to him yesterday. So he should have that in his hands. He offered to look it over and comment, but also to put it in the hands of people who he thought are or who he knows are involved in the grant process. Now, we know one person that's very important in that process is Erin Fink, because her name is on the description of the grants for historic restoration. So I emailed it to her, and on their website, they suggest that we set up with them a virtual meeting to discuss it. But I think the document will save everybody some time and really spells out in brief form what we're thinking about, and little background on the mill and so forth. So that's the status. She has it also, and just waiting to hear back from either one of them. I'm guessing we will be asked to join a virtual meeting with them to answer questions and discuss it in any way they see fit. I think I'll speak for myself, but I know I'm speaking for Al and some other people. The materials that were used, the original water conduit and tank was constructed from wood. No surprise. When the town took over the mill and renovated it, they had to rebuild the structure and built it out of wood. And it lasted for Alan, about 25 years or so.
Yes.
And then some of the boards blew out on the bottom. So it had to be basically rebuilt. And a decision was made by someone, some people, some group, to go with steel pipes as opposed to the original authentic wood structure. And we don't know why or what the basis was, but that's what was done. And maybe it was probably cost undoubtedly came into play, but it lasted before we started getting leaks. What, about 20 years, up thereabouts. I mean, it's thin pipe. I mean, it's less than a quarter of an inch thick, and there's water in the bottom, sitting in the bottom of it, almost constantly. So it's inevitable that rust will eventually catch up to us. And we looked at, as Alan mentioned, we're getting a bid to replace the pipe. We've got a bid already, and it's in the $25,000 range to coat the inside with an epoxy that the town uses for water pipes, the conduits that go under our roads. But the commission, I think that, well, I can't speak for everyone, but for those who've expressed an opinion, feel that it's our responsibility to do it authentically, okay? To redo it authentically if it's feasible from a cost perspective, and also maintenance wise and longevity downstream, that we don't have something that's becomes a maintenance nightmare, even though it's authentic.
Yeah.
So we're pursuing all three of those venues. I'm guessing that the wood may cost more, but I don't know that. That's just a guess. But the grant would certainly be a significant help if we can get a grant to fund that half of it. The grants are they pay half and we pay half. And Bill, we had a question when we met on this about the half that they pay. They don't pay until the project is over. Right, and you probably know that, but we didn't know it, but it's spelled out. So we have to upfront the whole cost. And then they come and I guess look it over, verify that it meets their requirements and it's done, and the mill is accessible to the public and so forth. And then after all of that, they'll send a check for their half money. So I think Marcia explained to me that's the way it works, and I think you probably agree with that, right? But I wondered where the upfront money comes from, and what she said was there's I don't want to call it a slush fund, but there's a pocket of money that the townhouse has that is kind of an in and out thing, that it's used to repay something downstream that we know is coming. Is that's the deal?
Yeah, we do it all the time. Yeah, we do it all the time. We did it with the school projects. We get reimbursed from the state for part of the cost there. Sometimes the town match is 5%, and sometimes it's 50%, and sometimes it's more. Like with the schools, it was 62.5. But yeah, the town commonly fronts the money, and to make that happen, all you need to do is see Roxanne and do a legislative file. She'll help you write it, and it'll explain that here's the project, here's what we're doing. We're applying for a grant. If we're approved, we pay the whole amount up front, and then once they sign off on it, as you said, is being done right, then we get the money back, and we put the money back in the account. Very common.
Okay, so in terms of how much money we have to put aside for facilities, looking downstream to if we do this in a year or two years, would we want to accumulate half of it in our facilities account to pay that, and then the other half comes out of this funny account?
Right. You don't have to have all the money in your account to put it up front. The town will fund whatever the matching grant part is, and you just need to set aside in your capital plan each year until you have enough money to do 50% of the cost.
Okay.
And what the council will want to know is, how sure are we that, of course, the town likes to have the grant application approved first, then you do the project, then the grantor signs off that yes, it met all our requirements, and the town likes to know what's the likelihood they'll do that. Or in other words, how likely are we to get it right, and that they will say, yeah, you did it right. So that always makes the councilors feel better to approve a project.
But in our capital request for this year, I mean, we didn't, and we still don't have yet an estimate for the wooden replacement structure. We hope to get that fairly soon. Alan, you have any idea when they might? That's a ballpark number.
Well, then one of the things that they mentioned in our video meeting with Husk was they needed to know from us how soon they need to get back with an estimate, because they're going to have to work this in with their ongoing work. So in other words, if we don't need it right now, they're not going to work on an estimate right now. So,
well, I think for planning purposes and the capital part, it really would be good to have it, for this current budget process.
so meaning what? So
That's possible.
what date? What's the date?
Well,
May 1st, April 1st?
No, we have the budget meetings next week, the 4th, the 8th, and the 11th, and I can go look and see when the district is scheduled, which one of those you're at. But you could make an estimate. If you have a wild guess as to what you think the project will cost, we could just make an estimate for now.
I think that's what will make sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense for them to do a wild estimate and then change the number from them once they sit down and make more specific plans. So I think we're just going to have to come up with a number that can be used.
Yeah.
Okay, well,
Yeah, they wouldn't want to be held. We would have to be the ones. I mean, you would have to do the wild estimate. So yes, that would make sense.
I think what's in there now, and we could change it at this point, I think, if we had some basis for it, is we based it on the coding number that we got from Savvy, which was $30,000.
That probably makes sense, Vin. Yes.
So I mean, if that's what we have, that's probably the number that we'll go with at this point. I mean, if this was 3 times that, and even with a grant for half, it's much more. We'd have to really give it some additional thought as to, is it feasible? Can we financially do it? So okay, I think that covers it pretty well.
Okay, let me go on just with a couple more things. So something I wanted to mention, some context for this project of the water system at the mill. There are a number of other restoration and repair projects that we're thinking about. One we talked about at the commission meeting a little bit last month, and that's building a replacement frame for the grist mill. But there are others as well. One of the things that the mill volunteer group is going to try to do in the next few weeks is come up with sort of at least the start of a priority list for those potential projects, and maybe try to come up with some key questions that need to be answered to settle on a more final priority. So I hope that we can talk about that maybe at the next commission meeting. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is that there are some items that have been donated to the Sawmill in the past 15 to 20 years that don't really belong there, aren't needed. So there's a large pump, for example, that was donated. There's a motor powered grinder. There's an old but at this point non-functional lathe. None of them are original, don't really belong with a mill. And I know, Bill, I'm pretty sure I've heard you mention that it's possible to get items that aren't needed listed on the town list for items to be auctioned. How do you know how that process works, or who the key person, the key town employee would be, or what the next step would be?
That would be Mayor Allen. He went from a process of sealed bids where anybody who happened to get wind of our bids would put a bid in an envelope and send it to town hall, and few people knew about it, so people were getting stuff for great deals. And the mayor changed that, and he put things on a public website. It might be gov.deals, gov.deals, something like that. But the mayor has succeeded in getting a lot better deals when the town sells surplus equipment. And I think I would start with Steve Maslin, Public Works Director. And if he says, no, I only do public works, then you'd have to go to the mayor. But copy me or just let me know if you need help, and I'll jump in anytime I'm needed.
Oh, okay, so oh, sorry, go ahead, Jay.
This is okay. What I'm talking is that, do we have any sort of a policy or this of accessioning artifacts at the mill that have been donated? Is there a record of them, who donated them, when they were accepted, and things like that? Because then we have to, essentially, the commission should have to vote on whether or not to remove these things from the collection before we can actually put them out to bid, because sometimes that, if you know what I mean, say that, so that, is it what record of it, like, so we can say, do we have a record of when this arrived, or people just say, I'm going to drop it off, and it's been there for 20 years and nobody knows who gave it or anything like that? Sort of like the situation. What?
You're mute, Alan. You're mute, Alan.
Yeah, sorry. So I'll tell you what I know about it. So one thing I don't know, I'm not a commission member. I don't know what any commission policy might be.
I don't know if there is a commission policy.
I'm not aware that there is a policy. And there is no inventory. And any records on any of this stuff is just what I've put together. And so
Okay.
I have names for some of these things. I don't have for all of them. We frequently get donations. For example, somebody will come by on a Saturday afternoon when we're open. Do you want this old looking thing? And in the past, the answer has almost always been yes.
Yes.
Which is the wrong sense. So we end up with stuff that's inappropriate.
Yeah. So right now, and I think actually I should. Okay, this probably we bring this up under new business. I think I mentioned a couple years ago with but there should be some sort of official policy. The thing was like with the Lester House, the accessioning of the collection. The collection belongs to the Historical Society, so that's their purview. Whereas at the Sawmill, we own the Sawmill, we run the Sawmill, so everything that we get there is the property of the Historic Commission, as well as, which makes it property of the town.
Yeah, I mean, it seems sensible to have a policy in terms of the criteria. I have put together sort of a first draft of a list of criteria that I personally find useful in thinking about this issue. So the commission, can take the next step, do whatever feels appropriate. But anyway, it's a great idea, Jay, and thanks, Bill, for your information. And so, in terms of the next step with the surplus items we have now, we go ahead and act on your advice tonight. So thanks for that, and thanks for the comments, Jay.
So if anybody email me the info so we can, because when I was the accessions clerk, those many years ago for the Historical Society, we had to come up with a policy, because we would get things like, one day somebody gave us essentially what looked like a envelope full of attic sweepings. And we had to come up with a policy. What is, no, we can accept, but the thing is, like, the people that donate have to accept the fact that, hey, we own it and we can do with what we please. It's like when you donate something to the Mystic Seaport, you can't say, I'm giving this to the Mystic Seaport and I want it placed in a frame in the captain's cabin of the Charles W. Morgan for the next 150 years or something like that. They make the decision where it goes. If they want to, if say 10 years down the line, they fear that doesn't really belong in their collection anymore, they can dispose of it either by donating it to another museum or by selling it off. But I think right now, probably the best thing is we work on a policy, and then but right now, I think for these equipment that you've got, we can just make a motion that the items listed be be allowed to be auctioned off or disposed of in a manner that's suitable for that's acceptable, and that the money goes into the Sawmill account. Does that make sense?
If we, having a policy, I think is a good idea going forward. And we've got a good starting point because the society is just fairly recently reworked their policy and the accession documents and all of that. So I think it could be a very good starting point, for us if we want to set up a system like that. And Laura actually is the curator for the society and handles the sessions and de-accessions and has that system. So what I would suggest maybe is that, if folks agree, have her pull that forward and get it out to members of the commission to look at, as a starting point. And then we can set up a small committee to work on that so that, at some point we'll have it.
Back when we can actually meet in public again. Because that's the big thing right now is just getting things done. The fact that we're emailing, we're looking at doing this, and the bare bones of actually doing the actual work is not really happening at the rate that it normally does because we're all miles away from each other half the time now. Like I found at work right now, we're at the point where what used to take a day takes 3, 4, sometimes a week to get done because we have to email this person or IM this person, and we have to wait for their reply, and then you know how it goes. So, so like I said, if we get Laura to do up and then we can take a look. Then what we do is after that, we can just we'll have to walk through the mill and with whatever information we have, make up a list of what we've got, if we know when it was acquired and things like that, so that we actually have a working file so we know exactly what's in the mill proper for artifacts.
Jay, would you be willing to kind of head up a small group to work on this?
Okay, I'll be willing to. Just I got my figured out my email finally, so I can, so we can get together and maybe the small group. I don't know. You make the recommendations who should be on it because there should be at least one person from the Sawmill committee on it, and like you said, Laura should be on it too because she's the expert on that. Because I haven't done work like that, like I said, in 40 years. So since they've been in it since before I was 35.
Would you want to be on it, or is there someone else that?
I'll ask the other folks, but we'll have somebody. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Okay.
So just we might need a motion.
Okay, I make a motion that we set up an exploratory committee to come up with a accession, de-accession policy for the Historic District Commission. So it'll include both include all, because we have to have a policy, because we have to probably have to include the schoolhouse in it too, because we do have artifacts in there that were not in the building when we acquired it, obviously, because it was just an empty shell when we got it.
Right. You're right. There are a few items there.
Like the school benches and, So that's for the policy, and then we can,
We have a second?
I'll second it.
Doug seconds it. Any further discussion? Okay. Call a vote. All those in favor of setting up this
Aye.
exploratory committee, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? No opposition, so we're off. Motion is approved.
Okay, so now just let me just clarify. So in the very near future for these items that I briefly mentioned, I'll go ahead and start the process of with Steve and the mayor if Steve can't help
Sure.
of getting
Yes.
those items listed. Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's all I had tonight. Thanks.
Okay, I
right.
have one more thing. I spoke to Ken about getting Brian Crandall over to look at that northwest corner that's settling, see if it's a problem or what we should do about it, if anything. He said he will. He's working with him later this week, so it'd be an opportunity for him to talk to him and hopefully get the two of them over in short order. And I said that you definitely need to be involved, and I would like to be involved when they're over and take a look at it. So, and
Okay, all right, great. Thanks, Ben.
some of this falls into an area you have some experiences with, timber framing. So, I mean, would you care to be involved with that? Because the part of the problem, I mean, it's the foundation is settling, but so is the corner timber framing of the
Sure.
structure is also settling. So
Yep,
there's some
follow.
differential movement that maybe is a concern and maybe not, but Brian has a lot of experience with timber frame structures, and you do too, right? So is that
You know.
something you could?
Sure. Sign me up.
So we will once we get an idea of when he's available, I'll get something out so we can have a meeting. And underneath, you guys cleaned it out so you can see what's there now, which we couldn't before. So that's great. All right, good. So that's it. Moving along to the.
Okay, I'm going to sign off then for tonight.
Okay,
Ben.
all right.
So-
Thanks, Alan.
All right,
Thanks,
yeah.
Alan.
Good
Thank
night,
you very
Alan.
much, folks. Yeah, bye-bye.
Hang in there.
Okay, Lester House report. Not a whole lot of activity, obviously, with the house being closed and so forth. But I finally received a quote to do the lead paint abatement in the quarters. And I tell you that I talked to about 6 companies, and for different reasons, couldn't get a bid. This company up in Manchester did come in, and they have the qualification. At any rate, to do all the windows, 12 windows, remove all the peeling paint, and repaint them with the right kind of paint, was $20,500. Yeah, it's expensive. I've got a company, Beck's Painting, which is more local. Eric Beck came last week and looked at it, and he said he will put in a bid on it. So we'll have at least two quotes to do that. But that's not the only cost. We have to also, according to Ledge Light, abate the floors. You know, they think that's a source of lead dust because you walk on the floors and you scuff them, and rubbing action, friction and so forth, they feel is what, with a lead-based paint there, is what generates the lead dust that they've been finding. So we still have to add the cost of the solution we sort of were thinking about for that was carpeting. Putting carpeting in, and that's an acceptable abatement method for floors that have, lead paint. I mean, the alternative is just, I suppose, scrape them all down to bare wood and repaint it. So at any rate, we need to get some additional costs. I've got a meeting with the mayor Wednesday at 10 o'clock to go over the information that we have, and I guess try to figure out our next, ours and the town's next step in this process. It's going to be a tricky operation. I mean, the tenants, they'll have to leave, they'll have to vacate. They'll have to get most of the furniture and stuff out of there for when the work is done. In particular, anything that would absorb dust, like a cloth couch or rugs or clothing or things like that would all have to be removed. I think most of that stuff could probably temporarily go into the museum. It's not open. The museum is not open to the public, obviously, and probably won't be for the coming months. So that's the big issue at the house right now, and what I'm spending some time on trying to figure out with the mayor how we're gonna get this done. I don't know if there are any other questions, but I'll take them if I can answer them. I'll try.
Hey, Vin, it's Doug. So I'm not looking for answers on this, but obviously we would need to look into the details about the tenant arrangements for vacating, along with whatever, looking over the house, any effects to the tenant's contract for duties that would normally be handled while she was in residence. And then I guess also any, if there were any alternatives to carpeting or any of the other proposed actions. I don't know that there is anything that we could do with the windows other than, have them handled. We're not going to replace them with Anderson windows,
Right.
unless they come back with $100,000 for abatement, right?
Yeah. Well, as far as relocating the tenants, Rebecca actually came up this idea, and I think it's worth looking at. She suggested that we rent a big camping trailer and put that on the property, and that we don't know. The one company said it'll take them 2 to 3 weeks, but there's taking stuff out and putting it back and testing.
Right.
It's gonna be a lot longer than that, you know.
Right.
If I were to guess, it'd be at least a couple months. But I think that's an idea that's worth looking at. I don't like the idea. We've done this before, and I was nervous the whole time of not having somebody, if not in the house, at the house, on
Right.
on the property.
Right.
And if they can make it for a couple months in a camping trailer on the property, that might be a way to go.
Okay, is that something then, Vin, that the Lester House Committee should take up and detail and maybe propose some options or a definite solution, and then come back to the commission to
Well,
make a decision, or how do we do this?
I think I'm going to bring that up with the mayor on Wednesday to see what he thinks about that, because he was talking originally about a hotel, and I suggested, there are probably house rentals at this time of the year in this area. But I don't know. I'm sort of looking to him for direction, and if he wants, other than getting these quotes, I think I need a quote for carpeting. We don't have that. So I know we could take that on. And if I was going to ask the committee if there's someone who feels like going to a carpet store or two with the sizes that we need and getting at least a ballpark number. Because at the end of the day, where is all this money coming from?
There's that, yeah.
I mean, how is that? And so if the mayor assigns us, and I've asked him, what can we do? And so far it's been to get some costs for the paint removal. That's number one. And what's involved in that. And part of the money question is we need a number if we're going to rent a trailer. What does that cost?
Yeah.
Yes.
We'd have to find, somebody's got to find it.
Right.
I
would assume that there would be, well, things to find out and things to weigh about something like, say, to rent a house, to put the tenants in for the duration. Could we get such a rental for less than a 6-month lease? Things like that. And Mayor Allen would, with his experience, would have some knowledge about that, of course. Anyway, yeah, we're going to have to find some things out and weigh options.
So a lot to this, but yeah, on the rental side, I think, he has a lot of experience there. He thinks there probably at this time of the year there may be some month-to-month rentals out there.
Okay.
I
personally like the option of keeping Rebecca and family on site if they don't mind, and if we can swing it,
Yeah. I think there's a big advantage to having having them on site for this.
Now, like if suddenly the basement floods or, you know,
Well, we know what
chimney
happened.
catches on fire or whatever, things like that keep me up at night.
They ran out of oil.
Right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That would be
Okay.
a disaster in the wintertime. I just had the faucets to the washer repaired because they started leaking very badly. You couldn't shut them off. Now, if that happens, nobody's in the house.
Right.
Well, you
You're up that creek.
just name
Yep.
name.
Okay.
All right. Okay.
Hey, folks, I've got to drop off. We've got some family stuff planned for 8:00, so I'm going to drop off and I'll catch up when I see the minutes. So,
All right.
thanks, everybody.
All right.
Thanks, Bud.
Thanks.
Take care, Bill.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Get better. All right. Let's see. Now, moving. Okay, Lance. Here we go.
Okay, well, last time we talked a little bit in general about signage. So I did something very preliminary. I didn't even consult with Doug or Missy about this, but I made some sketches of different kinds of signs. And I don't know if you have it as an email. I can hold it up here. Anyway, this is just to give an idea of what we've been talking about.
Missy likes
the kind of moss green border is a little bit of an imitation of what was done at Gales Ferry, and the thing at the bottom, that's my poor imitation of the Ledyard oak done in watercolor wash, but I made it a little too dark. What it's trying to imitate is, if you know the signage in Mystic, where they have a kind of a pale blue anchor, and it's pale enough that the black lettering on white shows. And the same thing with New London, they have a sperm whale, and it's done in kind of a pale blue. So anyway, I'm not sure I love this idea of the Ledyard oak. Maybe especially since the oak doesn't exist any longer. It does appear on the town seal, the town stationery, official stationery. But anyway, I just thought I'd just throw this out to see what people thought in general. And also this is my idea that you can have different amounts of information. In a lot of towns, they put the name of the first owner. Usually it's a man's name, because men were the owners of record in all the deeds. And if you can find the first owner's profession, that might get included as well. Now, when you get back to the 18th century, it's sometimes hard to find out, what someone's profession was. We'd love to have perhaps the name of the man and wife, although, depending on your records, you may or may not be able to find that out. So I just thought I'd just send these out so we could, get any reactions, see what people think. Maybe a next step would be if we agree in general on a format. Doug and Missy and I could, take it to the next step, start talking to people who make signs. And if you go online, there's quite a variety. There are local people who make hand-painted wooden signs locally. There are people in Massachusetts and New Jersey who do it on a nationwide basis as well. They differ. Some of them, I don't like their design sense very much. So you might prefer one over the other. And then, sometimes you see modern signs, something like with the sign company in Waterford that we've used. There are modern materials and modern processes. I'm a traditionalist. I kind of love the hand-painted sign, even if it's a hand-painted sign on a piece of wood, even if it's not going to last as long as a synthetic material with plastics and letters. But anyway, I open to discussion. I don't know if we want to take our time doing this or, have a smaller committee that works on it and comes back with another report.
I'll just say I like the one with the oak.
The Ledyard oak.
I do. I like the idea of it being watermarked behind so that it just kind of like the other signs. It's faintly there, and that's kind of what Ledyard's known for is the oak, even though it's not really there anymore. So but I also like the 3 different ones as options. So maybe you don't want something as fancy as the Ledyard oak. Maybe you just want a basic sign. So having limited options instead of being a free for all to have everybody do whatever they want is a good idea. So you've kind of got your, like, as I'm looking at them, you've got your straight to the point sign,
right?
And your next one has a little bit of flair, and then your last one is hog wild.
right.
Yeah.
I sort of imagine that the amount of information will be different in each case too. Some people, again, may not have as much information about the people who lived in the house at first. My own house is very complicated. It's going to have to be, circa so-and-so and later. It was built in multiple stages, probably reusing parts of an earlier house. So I don't know how the heck I'll come up with a date. So I imagine the signs are going to differ one from another a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of, do people like the idea of the, keeping that border, the kind of, moss green border, which is in the spirit of what's already on a lot of signs in Gales Ferry.
I like it.
Okay.
I love it.
Good.
And I actually I'm with you on the traditional materials. We've got existing signs that might be worse for the wear, but they've been there for 50 plus years. So really, I can't imagine a sheet of plastic being in a sunny spot on a building and lasting that long. I really can't.
That's probably true. You go online, you see the synthetic materials are promoted a lot for historic signs.
Sure.
But I think I like a piece of wood with paint on it.
It depends on what. Yeah, it's like I know in the town I grew up in, Bloomfield, it was the historical society would get would supply the sign, but then it was the property's owner to maintain the sign. I can remember times where go past the house and the sign would be off, and then a week later it'd be on because the owner had taken it off and had carefully scraped it down and had repainted everything so it looked the same. Because that's once you have to realize that once we put the sign up, it's the owner's responsibility to maintain the sign. It's not society's. It's not the district commission's responsibility to maintain the sign. They ask. Like when we do it, is the homeowner going to be being paid for the cost of the sign, or is that going to be something that's going to be borne by the commission?
I sort of imagine
that's a question that we have to settle. I mean, whether the commission and the town should pay for these signs, or should
do we have any information about who paid for the signs in the past? Because I think I remember somebody saying that it was on the homeowner to pay for the signs.
I would think in most towns it's a homeowner that would pay for it. But that's just not based on anything really. I mean, they're not that expensive. The places that advertise online who do this nationwide, it's something like $120, $130 for a hand painted sign.
Hand painted anything.
Right.
I
like it.
I personally wouldn't be adverse for the town to pay for. I mean, I don't think we're going to get a ton of these. That the cost would amount to much. I mean, a couple of these could come out of our miscellaneous account that we have. We budget every year and try to figure out what we're going to spend it for. But I like all the signs that you came up with.
What do you think about the Ledyard oak then?
that one caught my eye. Okay. And I really kind of like the the look of it, it's a little bit different, I think, than some of the other signs.
It could be done better. This is not a great job. It should be lighter. Go ahead.
Oh, stop
Yeah,
it.
exactly, because that's the only thing. It's dark enough so that it obscures some of the printing. You can't make, and you do want to make sure the name of the person stands out. And I like having the option, if we do know what this person did, putting it on a sign. I think that's really good information. But not every sign would have it, I don't think, because we just.
I always thought that, Mystic, because there are a lot of 19th century buildings, it's easier to find out the profession of the person. When you get to the 18th century, a lot of people were jacks of all trades. They're doing all kinds of things.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, yeah, and the Ledyard oak obviously could be drawn better too. This is just kind of sketched out there and dabbed in with watercolor, but it could be done more.
I think that's a pretty neat idea.
Well, maybe Doug and Missy and I could see if we want to take it to the next step, start talking to people, see if some of the firms locally or regionally are interested in doing this, and what kind of estimates they come up with for price.
I think Missy's at the top of the list for the first sign.
Okay.
So
I've only been asking for 3 years.
Okay.
The historic societies, I found don't move real fast. Okay, I'm not sure. It just seems to be a characteristic, I think. But those look good. In my view, I think they look good.
And again, things might be slower because in normal times I would just run out to the local sign painters and talk to them. I'm a little reluctant to do that, but we'll proceed.
Hey, Vin, before we move on, I like the idea that you had about maybe the town/commission sponsoring some signs. And so, for example, if we might, as a commission, decide that we want to put signs on particular landmarks, whether it's a schoolhouse, a church, a public building, something that might not be privately owned, or maybe be at least a semi-public concern. And so maybe we might have a list of those buildings that we want to sponsor ourselves, and then private homes are, a different process.
No, I think it would enhance the appearance of the town to have more signs like that. Public and private buildings.
I also think, Lance, that if we were to include the Ledyard oak, that that would make it more obvious in the community that Gales Ferry is a village of Ledyard, that there's that continuity around town.
That's good.
I remember one year my wife was substitute teaching at Ledyard High School, and the person said, I go to Ledyard High School, which is in Gales Ferry, Connecticut. Or just that it's like, also a sidebar, back when I was in Wyndham, when I first moved there, at the South Wyndham Library, I met a woman who was totally convinced that South Wyndham was a separate town from Wyndham, completely separate. The only reason they had the same town officials, it was cheaper that way. So build a sense of community, because people don't seem to think that Ledyard and Gales Ferry are Ledyard. They don't think of it as one complete town, because of the fact, the fact that for years we've had there's really no direct road between the center and Gales Ferry proper. There's no real, because you have to go up here, down there, and back around. There's no straight line connection between the center and Gales Ferry.
That's basically all of Connecticut, though, right? You can't get there from here.
Yeah, it's
Yeah, well, I mean, I remember, living in the Hartbury Lake in Windsor, you had Windsor Center, but you went up one road, it was a straight line to Quantico, went another road south, it was a straight line to Wilson. It's the other two principal villages in town. So they were right there. It wasn't like you go up here half a mile, you take a left, you go down this for 2 miles, you take a right, go down this for 3 miles, and you're at Gales Ferry. That's how it feels when you go. I mean, it's like there's a connection that like we have to foster a greater sense of community, because the fact that we have the Lester houses in Gales Ferry and the Sawmills in Ledyard, and yet they're all Ledyard, but people don't think of them that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe finding Oaklawn would be a.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do we know? Lost kind of track of the Methodist. Well, no, the old Methodist church that's now the Anglican church. I think originally they were interested or thinking about kind of an informational sign for the church that gave, a brief summary, I think, of the history, or dated it or whatever. But
I think what it is, that would be something that the district commission would sponsor. And like when you first mentioned, I started looking through what documents I have, and probably the appropriate signage for that, if you just want with a basic sign, would be Gales Ferry Methodist Episcopal Church, 1857, because that's what it was. That's what it was called when it was built. It was the Methodist Episcopal Church. That's what the Methodist Church was called until the late 1950s.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in Gales Ferry. Of course, it's Gales Ferry, and it's
Right.
yeah. So that's a little cyber, yeah. But if we can still contact Bishop Seabury, see if they're interested in putting a sign up, but they have to understand that the sign would say what the church building was originally. Because everybody knows what it is now because it has the sign that says Bishop Seabury Church right out in front of it.
Right.
Yeah. But sort of give lights right now in New London. Both the First and Second Congregational Church have been sold to different congregations. The Second Congregational Church has gone out of business. The First Congregational Church is a tenant in its own building. So they put signs up on the building that tell you that originally this was this church and that church, not the church that it is right now. Yeah.
I think one of the he was very, very active down there. And he passed away recently. Kind of can't recall I think his first name was John. He and his wife were very active there.
Don't mean John Lawrence.
What's that? Lawrence, that's it. Lawrence.
Oh my goodness, I hadn't heard that.
I thought did I get that right? Or I hope I thought he.
I know.
But because the society was kind of, that was the point of contact to discuss the schoolhouse and coming up with a written agreement of some kind between the church and the society with regard to use of the schoolhouse and maintenance of it, and work out the accessibility to it. Okay, because you have to cross their property to get to it, so you need to have an agreement. So at any rate, I don't know that anything's talk about things going slowly. I don't know that they've made much progress on that. But I did wonder if they're still interested in a sign, and if there's any way we could help them with that. I mean, the basis, the historic basis for it is well documented, right? The history of the church.
Well, I think we should at least touch base with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is what they originally thought of, but so I'm a fan of the informational sign out at the Gales Ferry Point. I'm a
I
fan.
agree.
I think it looks great. I love the graphics of it, the informational part of it. So if you were a casual walker or part of a walking tour, you would have information about this area or a structure that you would have to look in a book for otherwise, or look on the internet to find out. And if we had something like that for key structures such as the old Methodist Church, I don't know, maybe the Harvard complex along the river, or the Congregational Church in Ledyard Center, I think that would be a fantastic thing for us to sponsor and to, along with the individual building signs that Lance has sketched up. I think all of those together would help reinforce that community cohesion, sort of a graphic cohesion and physical cohesion.
I agree. Would you do you know anyone in that church? I mean, you're a neighbor, but and Missy,
I'm a neighbor.
you're a
Other
neighbor.
than having met the Lawrences, when they very kindly, Missy, you were there, weren't you? Weren't we?
Yeah, when they offered to give us a tour of
Yeah.
They live right on the bluffs, I believe.
Okay. But
Um,
other than the Lawrences that we met when they very kindly offered to show us their remodeled church, I can't say that I know people in there. It's possible, but
Well, I mean, would you be willing to reach out to them?
absolutely. You know me,
Yeah.
I've never met a stranger.
You've got that kind of personality that people take to very easily. So yeah, well, if you'd be willing to do that, and let them know that we're still interested
Sure.
in
Okay.
that, and working with them on that. I think it's a great, those signs, the places you just mentioned, I think would be a really neat addition to what you've got down there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll be glad to work on it. Vin, it's kind of your Lance, it's kind of your purview, along with the individual structure sign. So I would want to touch base with you and Missy, I guess,
Sure.
just to see what your thoughts are and how we could pull it all together.
Sure, maybe we should, could meet, exchange emails separately.
Yeah.
And come up with something. Yeah, I confess, I know so little about Gales Ferry. I live on the other side of town, so.
Oh, it's the greatest place in the world.
Yeah, I know. I just, the few times I've been there,
a local rep from
spectacular. You should come visit more
but,
often.
yeah,
That's right.
And Missy, you and Lance will work together on the house signs or whatever.
Yep, I'm happy to do that.
Very good.
Great. All right, thanks, Leanne.
Sure.
All right. Ken didn't have anything on the center school to report. And Jay, Great Oak Park, anything happening there? Or?
Nothing that I know of. I haven't heard anything from anybody, and I have been doing some rough sketches on my idea to try to outline the circumference of the canopy of the Great Oak for trying to clean up the area around, because it's getting so overgrown with brush. Mm-hmm. But that'll mean actually probably going out once we can actually walk the grounds again to see exactly what it is, so we can come up with, because like I said, that would be a good project to have sort of a scout group to do, to clear the ground and develop, say, either some sort of a walk trail and some sort of maybe not interact exhibits, but more than what we have right now to tell the history of the tree and what it meant and all. Because right now we do have some nice exhibits, but everything, we're getting to the point where it looks like we need to probably take those things. Those look like they're going to, in a couple of years, going to need to be cleaned up and repainted too. It looks like.
Mm-hmm.
Never ending battle of maintenance with.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you've got essentially what you got, what essentially is an outdoor exhibit too, with all the signs about it, about the tree itself, since the tree is no longer really there. Like I said, was it last spring when we took that last summer when we took that walk to the homeless encampment, and we walked past the oak, and essentially it's just I'm not even sure if there's even going to be a big pile of sawdust there and rotted wood in the spring. It's just going to be, I think, essentially just going to be a flat area where it might be in the best interest to have somebody come in and just sort of start raking the stuff so it goes into the ground, so it goes back to nature faster.
Mm-hmm.
Because essentially, for all intents and purposes, now what was left of the tree is gone.
Yeah.
Right.
So we have to really think about commemorating it in a more permanent way and try to preserve the fact that people, when they walk into that, and they wonder why we have this big open space in the middle of the woods, and you can explain why with the signs. And like I say, maybe if we just do an outline of and I was just saying, this is something that came to my mind today, that maybe have a crushed stone, have the border where the woods meet, have that as a walking trail around, so more or less make it permanent. So this is where the canopy of the tree, this is how far it reached.
Mm-hmm.
But we can get together in the spring with people with the house committee and other people and the people interested in maintaining the trails, because this is more than just a one-person deal. So I mean, I've got my ideas, but other people may have their ideas as well.
That site's been a couple of scout projects that have been done. The bench that's there, and there's a stone bench that's put there. Those were part of a Boy Scout project, and they had it cleaned up well. But the thing is, the stuff grows back.
The stuff grows back, so it has to be something. That's why I'm thinking about maybe, instead of just leaving it a cleared area where things grow back, but we have to actually maybe, like I said, plant something like meadow grass, something like that. Like the meadow in front of the house is planted, and we have to actually have maybe the town. We may get somebody to volunteer to do it or something like that as a part of a scout project or some sort of community involvement to just maintain. It doesn't have to be a country club quality lawn, but a grass field that is that way. It's more permanent, because the biggest problem, like that, is the fact that it's like this summer, because it was so dry. I didn't mow my lawn for a month. When I finally got around to doing it, I had bitterroot growing up, popping up all over the place. Or bittersweet, whatever they call that stupid plant.
Right.
So that's the thing. Once you decide you do something like that, you have to be maintained. So we have to come up with an idea that we like. Because if we just leave it as it is, eventually, saplings are, the brush is going to be replaced by saplings of various types, and it's like, most of the woods we see around here are second growth forests. Like when I talked to people that in my neighborhood in the Highlands, that when they first moved in, everything around was open field still. Now it's woods, because everything's just grown up.
We've got 25 abandoned cemeteries in town,
I know.
They're all right now have volunteers to maintain every one of them. And
Yeah.
it doesn't take much, because like you
Yeah.
say, it's gonna be park quality. You just want to
Yeah.
keep the underbrush and the weeds and the saplings from taking over, which they
Yeah, I
would.
know.
And
Yeah.
in a few years, it would be a jungle. So
Yeah. I know, there's somebody that comes down and does like in my neighborhood, we had the Adams Stanton Cemetery. And right now there's someone that comes in a couple times a year. It's like the Lester family cemetery. It's in the woods. So you're not going to get tall grass growing up in it, but you're going to just have to have somebody come in there and just go over it a couple times a year to keep the saplings from becoming big enough to grow trees and things like that. So that's what we're looking,
of course,
but still would like something that people could actually go and walk around and, get the feel of what it was, because that's the real thing that people.
Sun is your
What was that?
enemy.
Yeah, sun is your. I know.
In these situations, if you've got trees and a canopy, it really helps keep the stuff down.
Yes, but it still doesn't prevent. Yeah, but you still doesn't prevent but you still need somebody to come in and maintain it, because as you look around, like looking through the woods there, you can see where, like you said, a couple places where you had to relocate the trails because it was easy to relocate the trails and to take that than to move the fallen trees. Within a couple of years, you can't tell the trail was there to begin anymore. So even if you do have a tree cover, you're still going to have a brush problem.
I think there is one connection to Atkinson that's pretty well established, I think.
Yeah.
If they've built some stone walls across where the wires are and so forth, that looks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and people, I think, do connect to our trails.
Yeah.
In that area. But I think it needs to be just better marked. And I don't like walking on that rubble that stone rubble that they put under the wires.
I know.
It's
I know that it kind of looks like it looks kind of like, and they've got the railings on either side of it. Like, I mean, it's like, this is like, what is this, some sort of a mock bridge or something like that? But the little, it's like a bot. It's like they've got the ties on the decorative gardening ties on either side. They got the gravel. It's not really trap rock, but it's it's track rock.
It's horrible to walk. Again, it's people are going to have ankles.
I know, but somebody had the idea. This is a great way to probably think. We'll also keep the weeds down. So they create. Because let's say there also are rather soggy areas in that area where it's because of the fact that so.
But I think rather than come out of their trails and then walk up the power line on that rubble, we just go across the power line and make a trail in our woods that connect to our trail and mark it so that people are directed, in the right direction from either end. Wouldn't take a whole lot of effort.
Yeah, it wouldn't. The thing is, right now is just making sure that we know that we stay within the confines of our property, because it's so overgrown and it's so.
Yeah. But
But we still have to wait and see what's going on with the acquisition of the other property because as far as I know, I still haven't heard if they've actually received title of the property of the other property yet. And they got Atkinson, but I don't know if they got the other piece that they were looking at last year.
Yeah.
Because everything like that, it's like everything's. It's been a lost year, so nobody really knows if these don't go on. And
I know Avalonia wanted to put their own markings, yellow, something or other, to mark that trail connection to our trails to the Atkinson there. And I said we didn't want them to do that. Our trails are marked. We got the blue blaze trails, and I
The
wanted
Blue
to,
Blaze Trail, you know, that's which is the standard for the state of Connecticut for hiking trails. Yeah, that's
and otherwise people will assume that the property that's part of the Great Oak Park is Avalonia property. If they start putting their signs in it, didn't want that to happen. All right,
Yeah.
well, there's some things there that would make some good good Boy Scout or Girl Scout projects.
yeah, okay, yeah.
Okay, I don't we covered everything. Yeah, social media. Laura's not here. Missy, do you have anything to add on social media? No.
No.
No. Okay. All right. Is there anything else? New business or old business? No. Someone can make a motion to adjourn.
I so moved, Jay Peeler.
I'll
Okay.
second it.
Missy seconds it. All right.
Lance
Okay.
actually seconded it.
I beat you to it?
Yep, you did.
Oh,
All in favor? Adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned at 8:30.
Right.
Okay, folks. Thanks a
Good
lot.
Good night.
Okay.
Right, thanks for
Good night.
Thanks, folks.
Good-
Night
have a-
now.
Yep.
Boop, boop.